All right, guys. I hope everybody's having a great day. And my name is Manny Corral. I am a branch manager for Golden Empire Mortgage and running a region. And I have the privilege this morning of doing a Tuesday takeover for Dave Savage. So I'm really excited about that. And it's a pleasure to be here with everybody. I have the honor of interviewing my friend, and he's a close personal friend, and he happens to be my coach for 17 out of the last 19 years with Building Champions. And so I'm going to interview Greg Harkavy from Building Champions. So Greg, why don't you do a quick intro? Tell us a little bit about who you are, and we'll pick it up from there.
Well, it's great to be here, and yeah, just kind of tripping out on how time flies. I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know that I had more hair, I just grew it longer. So, but yeah, so I mean, first things first, I've been married for 25 years this year, 6 kids that are just amazing gifts to me, and just celebrated my 54th birthday. Love life and people, and surfing is a passion of mine. But as the career trajectory goes, I went straight from college into originating, and I was in the industry for 13 years, and Manny, you and I were in the same territory, and we would compete for a few deals. But 20 years into coaching, 13 years being in the mortgage industry, and never really out of the mortgage industry. I think, as most of you know, it's kind of like the mafia. Once you get in, it's really hard to get out. So I love the industry and the people in it, and just been a lot of awesome relationships that have formed. And the tenure that you and I have, and how does it get better than that? So super cool, and I love to coach.
That's awesome, man. Well, we've both been married 25 years, and you're actually doing a better job of going to the gym than I am. You were showing off your guns a little while ago. Let's do a big gun pose for everybody here real quick.
All right.
I know you're a humble guy. There you go. All right, brother.
If I get any pushback, I'm coming after you for that one.
That's it. You're not kidding me, man. Okay, well, let's chat a little bit about who you coach. You coach loan officers, you coach producing branch managers, you coach regionals, and you're coaching CEOs for many different companies. And you're also in leadership at Building Champions, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So let's chat about some of the biggest challenges that leaders are facing right now in our industry. You're doing a lot of coaching with CEOs in particular, and leaders, of course. What are some of the biggest challenges you're coaching them through that are facing us all in this market today?
Yeah, a lot of us within Building Champions, when we're asked to talk about things, we use a military term called VUCA, and VUCA stands for volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. So when I look at what leaders are facing right now, like we've been talking about this in probably more than 2 years, but through the pandemic, we saw leaders dealing with this every day, and the people that they were leading were in this VUCA environment, right? So the challenges for a leader are just all the volatility and uncertainty, and we see it in the mortgage industry big time. More specific, if we get into the details, like what CEOs are dealing with, very simply put, figuring out how to make a profit. And right now, it's how do we get to break even is the bar. It's been lowered, right? So you hear a lot about, you get a little bit closer to the street, pricing issues. It's kind of a bloodbath, right? Like everybody I talk to, especially with independent mortgage banks, it always sounds like their rates are the highest, but it's like, why is it when I talk to a bunch of different people from different companies, they're having the same story? And it's a part of that volatility and uncertainty, trying to figure out pricing right. And, the models that you operate from, you offer tremendous value, but when it feels like it's commodity, it becomes a challenge. So from a leader's perspective, how do we retain key people? How do we deal with the very difficult decisions of layoffs, potentially renegotiating compensation packages for branch managers and originators? Like, very difficult decisions. I can promise you one thing, I don't think any CEO takes pleasure in having to make those very difficult decisions, but they're doing it typically to keep the company sound, so people have a place to originate. So right now, I think that's the biggest difficulty. I think retention, recruiting, and fighting for profitability are the biggest challenges. That's on a macro level, right? Self-leadership becomes a topic unto itself as well. But before I kind of run off, I'd love for you to pause and ask me what question comes up to you.
Well, to me, you just described our current reality of our marketplace today. I mean,
Yeah.
you and I were both in them. You were coaching me during 2007, 2008.
Mhm.
And I thought that was a pretty tough market. Obviously, the mortgage market meltdown was a big deal. I remember at the time I had, I think, 25 loans that I had just originated that month, and I lost 17 of them, couldn't recover them. Some I was able to recover out of the 25, but I think I lost 17 or 18 of those transactions. I thought that was pretty tough, but I got into the lending industry in 1985, and I worked at a savings and loan at the time, and all we had was adjustable rate mortgages, and they were all at 9.25. My first full month in the industry, I originated over 40 loans at 9.25%, and I didn't think twice about it. Maybe I was just a young, naive guy at the time, and it just prices were $60,000-$70,000 for a house, so it didn't seem as challenging, but this is definitely a tough market. It's probably the toughest market that I would say I've ever been in, if I'm being completely transparent. We've had to really grind through this market. So I think you just described the current reality of what we're all facing as leaders. We've all had to make really tough decisions. Most of us are very competitive. I know you and I are very competitive people. And anybody that's competitive, of course, isn't really happy with their production this year, because it's just kind of how we're made. We're all drivers and type A personalities for the most part, but we've had to make adjustments this year. And we've had to get real and transparent with each other and have these tough discussions. But employee retention is probably number one, and keeping your key players on board, and everybody's getting pounded by getting recruited. So it's definitely something that we're all dealing with in today's marketplace.
Yeah, and you just said something I think that was really key. When you got into the business, where the rates were at, maybe you were young and didn't know any better, right? And I think one of the biggest difficulties of 2022, possibly going into 2023, is it's coming off such a historic unicorn, incredible run for 2 years, right? So it's the stark contrast. If you look at where interest rates are at today, when you and I were first originating, we would have been ecstatic with these. We'd be like, we have a refi boom with these rates, right? So when you look at it, I don't know if this market's worse than 08, 09. I don't know if it's like comparatively though. I think the contrast is one of the biggest we've ever seen, right? One of the best markets that the industry's ever seen to what it is today. It's just so drastic. But if you got into the business today, brand new, let's just say you had no overhead, no expectations, you looked at the interest rates, you looked at it, just what's possible. And if you brought the right mindset and the right disciplines, I think you could have a great year. It's only comparing it to what it was that changes our filter. And, maybe we've adjusted our lifestyles to what the previous, like I've known this for 10 years, where my baseline was, those sorts of things. But if you weren't encumbered with the difficult decisions of layoffs, the difficult decisions of paring back, and you just looked at it brand new with the right attitude and the right effort, you might think very differently about today's market.
I agree. I think you just uncovered a golden nugget, man. I mean, if you're an originator getting into the industry right now, this is the only market if you can make it through this market, you can make it through any market. And there was a ton of opportunity in the backside of this. I remember having a conversation just when I first met you. Rates were 8.5%. We refinanced everybody down to 7.5, 6.5, 5.5, 4.5. We refinanced the same people 5 different times. And jokingly, we said, well, let's just, we're going to, with these higher rates, let's just back up a trailer, and, we're going to stack up a ton of loans at 6.5%, and we're going to refinance them all down at 5.5 and 4.5, and just load that trailer back up with refinances when that time comes, of course. But, we've got to stay diversified, and we've got to make sure that if you're working with realtors, that you're still working with realtors on the purchase side, and you're not losing touch with those realtors when the refinance market does come back into play, and it will. We have to make sure that we're still out in the marketplace. We can't lose that opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think right now what we're dealing with is equilibrium, right? The market does not have equilibrium because coming off of the extreme success and to the stark contrast of this year, we still don't have the right maybe ratio of people competing for that book of business that's out there. So figuring that piece out, like I think it's created a bit of a commoditization of the industry. So, when I think about what leaders are doing right now, whether you're in the C-suite or as an originator, first and foremost, you're all leaders, right? I know you all hear this all the time, but having a CEO mindset is for all of you. But what does self-leadership really look like? Like when I look at this industry right now, some of the keys I think are beyond just like your own morning routine and the disciplines, everything that helps your mindset be as positive as possible is key. So whether you've been in the business a long time versus that brand new person that's coming in that doesn't know any different, to get to the mindset of that brand new person that sees possibility, it's still incumbent upon you. That's a part of leading yourself, or if you're leading others, helping people see possibilities. If you've read the book Ninja Selling, it's a great book, recommend it, but it talks a lot about mindset that really aligns, I think, with our philosophy at Building Champions. But mindset, like there was an analogy in the book that talks about a golfer, and if all they see is a sand trap, that's what they wind up in, because that's what they're seeing, and it becomes self-fulfilling. But if they're seeing the green and focusing on the green, they land on the green, right? And depending on what you see in this industry, if all you see is the challenge, well, that's what you're going to get. You see the opportunity, the energy that you have towards it is huge. And people feel that, whether you're leading that way or if you're with a borrower, whoever it may be, if they sense your positivity and your possibility, I think it's huge. So what that looks like, I think, first and foremost, is understanding your mission. What is your purpose? What is your why? At Building Champions, we go through a process of creating your vision, and we look at your convictions and your purpose as central to your identity. Right now, no matter what seat you're in, from the C to individual contributor, you need to know what your why is. Like what gets you up every day. If it's only about how many units you funded, it's not going to be something that satisfies you in a market like this. But even when things are great, if you're not clear on your purpose, you will drift at some point in time. So I think getting really clear on what your why is, on how you make an impact, how you add value to all of those around you, the more you focus on that daily, it's kind of like focusing on the green, right? And then going from there, I think understanding your differentiators. This one's hard. And I think this audience here, the mortgage coach community, you guys probably all think that you're all thinking the same. You're actually unique because you're investing in how to differentiate yourselves by using this beautiful just resource that you have in Mortgage Coach. I mean, doing TCAs, and Manny, I know you're going to share a little bit later as well. But you really have to get clear on what your differentiators are when price is a brutal thing right now. How do you get so clear that your value is actually worth a higher price? So you don't control rates, and you don't even control your company's pricing, but you do control your narrative of understanding where your value is worth more than perhaps an eighth or a quarter or whatever you're competing against. If you're not clear on that, it's very hard to compete. So, even just being able to say, hey, here's where we're different. We're going to do a TCA with you, and this is what it looks like. Don't underestimate it, but get your story crisp so people understand what the difference is.
A lot of us had to challenge ourselves with mindset this year. I know I did personally. I had to get to the point in January and February where I said, I'm going to be grateful for everything that I get this year. In the past, the last 3 years, we were just, grinding and cramming loans through the system, and everybody was as busy as they wanted to be. And this year, you could see the market shifting. Actually, last year, probably in October, November, December, we started to see the market shift. And then, so this year I came out and said, well, I'm going to work on my mindset, and I'm going to just be grateful for everything that I get, because it's easy to look at your numbers and get caught up in the numbers, right? You're doing 200 million, you're doing 100 million, and you're thinking you're not a good loan officer. Well, you are. you're pretty darn good. You know,
Mhm.
so at the end of the day, it's mindset. And then I think your analogy regarding the golfing, the sand trap and the green, I love that, man. That's super cool. Can we dig a little bit more into differentiators, purpose, and why?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's do it.
So
So,
is there, go ahead.
well, just talk to us a little bit about being clear on your clear differentiators. What makes us different? You know, when you take the field and you get out in the marketplace and getting clear on our why. I think you mentioned it earlier. You just can't be just about the numbers. It's got to be about making a difference and impacting people's lives.
Yeah. And I think that gets lost in the heavy lifting of the day, right? Like where do we know we're making a difference? And if you're unclear today, it's like, well, how do you get clarity? I think it starts by simply asking people. Like ask your referral partners, ask your borrowers, hey, just give me feedback. What do you see that's unique or different about myself and my team and how we approach the business? Like start to ask people, like if you were to explain why you would choose myself, what is it about myself, my company, my team that separates us from other people? That's like the place to start if you don't have it, right? So understanding what your differentiators are is key. I know for years as an originator, when I would get certain feedback loops, like one of the things that one of our buddies that we talked about maybe sending this to, Derek Goy, he used to say, hey, Greg, you're like the master of follow-up. Hey, that's a differentiator. And
Mhm.
I just figured it was the way I would do business, but then I started realizing, okay, take a note. This is why Derek values our partnership, because he knows if he's going to hand me a client lead, I'm not going to let it slip. I'm going to take care of that person. I'm going to follow up with them. And what it did for me is it reinforced systems and conviction that, hey, this makes a difference. And what I did find out is it actually was valued by pretty much everybody in the community.
Yeah.
But even to follow up, you have to know, well, what am I saying? Do I have purpose with the conversations that I have? So kind of a underneath driver for me was in my purpose statement, it was that I was driven to have a positive impact on every person I came in contact with, one person at a time, which happens to be very much the same as Building Champions purpose statement. But that was just like a deep belief that every conversation could be meaningful and we could make a difference. So follow-up became an opportunity. Didn't know where it was going to come from, but how do I help somebody? Right? Just coming in with curiosity, finding out where people are at, what do they need, what questions might they have. I remember when I was early into the business, I went from hunger to overwhelm. Like the business starts coming in, right? And managing the business becomes really difficult, where I started to resent everybody's questions. Like I
Mhm.
was too busy, right? Young, stupid, originator. And I remember being in a real estate office and kind of in, I don't know, it's a conference room, but it was always a closing room, right? And I'm taking a loan application and my pager, this gives you an idea of time frame, is going berserk. And I'm getting like the 911 page from my processor. So I called while I had this client with me to find out what was going on. And the realtor that referred me after I was done with the client said, don't ever do that with my clients again. If you're in front of my client, you do not interrupt, you do not get on the phone, you do not talk to other people. I was like, dang, it was a stern talking to, but it was so important because she taught me a lesson that whoever you're with, you be present with. You can't make a positive difference if you're distracted and you're making people feel as if they're one of many. I didn't know how to manage that until I started realizing, hey, everybody deserves your time. If they have questions, that's what you're there to answer. Make sure you follow up and follow through. Like that became it. That was just mine. I think each person has to identify what theirs is. What are they passionate about? Where do they see results? What are people saying that they appreciate most about their experiences with you? Get really clear on that. And if you're not, spend some time on it. It's worth pausing and saying, I have to do this, because what it's going to do is it's going to let you compete. I rarely had people rate shopping me. Almost like never. It was like okay, if you're rate shopping me, then there's something lost in translation in how I differentiated myself with you.
That's because you built a lot of trust, my friend. People tend to shop you less when they like you, they know you, and they trust you, without a doubt. And it's still going to do it from time to time. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's about building trust. They've got to buy you first.
Well, here's the thing. They will know if you're actually interested in them, if you care about them. Like when they feel like, hey, I feel important to you, trust is built. If they feel like it's your agenda, very difficult to build trust. So that authentic care.
Yeah, absolutely. In our business today, it seems like it's press a button, get a mortgage, right? It seems like lots of loan officers aren't spending quality time with their borrowers. Every borrower I meet with, I ask them, how much time did you spend with your previous lender? And the answer is typically 5 to 15 minutes.
Yeah.
5 to 15 minutes. That's it. So you can't teach anybody anything in 5 to 15 minutes. And so we make sure that we emphasize to our clients that we're going to spend a lot more time than that with them, obviously, and because we do a full consultation, and then of course marry that with MortgageCoach. But lenders in general, our competition isn't teaching our clients what they need to know, and we need to educate our clients. That's one of the things that we do. Greg, you and I had spoke before, and this was a different meeting that you and I had, and I asked you a question regarding building champions, and I said, what was one of the top things that you've learned at Building Champions over the last 20 years? And you said something that blew me away, because I never thought that you were going to say this, and it was selfless posture. Can you go deeper into that, man? Because I found that to be very intriguing. Can you kind of explain what you mean by selfless posture as a leader?
Yeah, it's so funny because I'm like, oh gosh, don't ask me to remember what I said.
Yeah,
I'm like, I may not answer the same, but maybe that's good too. But selfless posture, it's really a mindset of whatever we can do collectively to make the biggest impact inside the organization. So like not being hung up on titles or ego, but looking at what your gifts are, what you're passionate about, and where that meets up with what is going to be the biggest impact of the organization. Because sometimes we want to do the things that we like doing, but they may not be what the organization needs. They might even require you to step down a little bit. So, you'll appreciate this, Manny, and maybe half of you on this will not appreciate it and half of you will love it. But we were watching the SC UCLA game on Saturday, and I had my daughters and my youngest son with me. And my youngest son made a comment. He's like, why don't the SC players have their names on their jerseys? It kind of bugs me. The UCLA players do. And I'm like, well, son, that's one of the things I love about USC, because it's about the team. They don't put the names on their back. Notre Dame does the same, by the way, right? Like, at least I think they still do, because it's about buying in for the team. It's that selfless posture. No one individual is more important than the collective success together. So at Building Champions over 20 years, I mean, that's been modeled. My brother is the founder of the company. He's one of the most selfless, generous human beings. And his posture has always been, and he was in the mortgage industry forever, he always focused on, what can I do to elevate others? And then when you model that and replicate it, it creates this, I'm going to just say, an abundant environment where people don't feel like they have to guard their own. Like, I'll do whatever it takes to make this organization win. So at Building Champions, I've never felt politics competing for positions. I've been in the C-suite, never came, like, none of us actually came to Building Champions with the desire to be in the C-suite. We came to make a difference in people's lives as coaches. But there are needs to lead an organization and a mission where somebody's got to pick up the leadership mantle. So today it's really fun to see the next generation of leaders leading our company. So when I look at Daniel or myself and the different roles, like, it's pretty cool seeing other people model the selfless posture, and our company is having the best year we've had in our history. So
that's awesome, brother.
yeah.
I'll tell you this: humble, hungry, and smart. Every time I think of that, I think about you, because you're one of the most humble people that I know. one of the smartest people I know, but you're also super, super competitive, man. So
Yeah.
I appreciate that about you. Let's transition into talking to our loan officers that are out listening to this now and watching us. Let's talk about going into, because this year's over. That's the reality of it. We got it.
Yep.
We're working towards 2023 and have been for some time now. Prospecting new realtors or financial planners or CPAs, wherever you're going to prospect. Let's talk a little bit about that. To me, it seemed like going into 2022, we had to reinvent ourselves. Looking at your current roster of realtors, for me at least, I needed to double or triple that number. So let's talk a little bit about prospecting to our new LOs out there, or not just new LOs, heck, any loan officer out there that wants to expand their business. So let's chat about that for a few minutes. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's always the core of your business. Like having a solid purchase business is, I think, a non-negotiable, right? Refis aren't there. But maybe you got, purpose-driven refis by pulling cash out or whatever, but knowing that, hey, the more you can embrace the fact that it's a vital part of your business than going after the realtor sphere of professionals becomes a must. And in this environment, when we talk about leadership, they need to be led as well. They're desperately looking for solutions. And if you've got any sort of subject matter expertise, whether you're a new LO or not, make sure you find people that have the knowledge. Like if you don't have it, learn it, bring leadership to that marketplace, right? I know maybe 6 months ago I was saying, hey, have buy downs come back? Like what's going on there? Like I got to imagine with the rate shifts, like where do you start to find the new niches that bring solutions to an increasing interest rate environment? Sure enough, they're there, but I started to find out that the people that were taking the lead, they were educating the marketplace on them. This is how they work. This is why they're a benefit. It brings creativity, which brings possibility, and people start selling homes and you get the loan. Like it's just whatever it is, bringing solutions, I think is the key. But what I heard was a huge appetite for solutions when people were just like, I've never seen this before. I don't know what to do. So if you're not experienced and you haven't seen a market like this before, you probably have people on your team or in your company that do. Seek them out. If you're somebody that has experience, understand that your leadership is needed going forward.
Yeah, that's awesome, Greg. I will tell you this, that we gave a class to many realtor groups. And if you've been in the industry for less than 5 years, you didn't even know what a buy down was. So we had to go out and actually put a presentation together and explain what a 2-1 buy down was. I mean, if I'm being completely transparent, I hadn't put together a 2-1 buy down in 15 years.
It wasn't relevant.
If I hadn't done it in 15 years, there's no way anybody that's been in the industry less than 5 years has even put any buy downs together, unless you were in that marketplace. But in our marketplace, it just didn't exist. I see that Dave has joined us. Dave, welcome to our Tuesday takeover, brother.
I love it, man. I couldn't think of two people better to take this over. And I know it's been an incredible conversation. I do want to push everybody in the audience. This is a special group. And when I think of what it means to be successful in this market, it's all about leadership. So, any questions you have, put those in chat, whether you're watching this on Facebook. I'm getting ready to do a takeover of the takeover. But I'll let you and Greg kind of wrap up this first half, and then I'll jump in and take over the takeover.
Yeah, Greg, just any piece of advice, because you're going to have to move on to another meeting that you have here in literally 2 minutes. 2 minutes to wrap this up on your end. What advice would you have for any loan officer in this marketplace? And let's end it with that.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is pause. Like if I were to use a word, it's pause. If you're not taking time to think on your business, like Building Champions, we talk about there's 3 categories really. Growth. Those are all your dollar generating activities that you do during the day, right? Prospecting, doing TCAs, whatever it is that leads to dollar generating activities. That needs to be a big part of your day. Then there's working in the business. It's really loan fulfillment, working with the team, et cetera. But very few people are pausing and working on their business. If you can dedicate time at least once a week to really think about how do we get better? How do we work better as a team? How do we create better experiences with our borrowers, with our referral partners? Reading, researching, like doing things of that nature in this market might feel indulgent. I think it's one of the great differentiators in and of itself. That's where all your creativity is going to come from. It's where your solutions are going to come from. It's where maybe your scripting is going to come from. So if you're not working on constantly tweaking and improving your business, that's the biggest thing I would recommend. Like if you spend time doing that, it's huge. In the past couple of years, the originators that I worked with in the busiest season, I saw them still working on improving their business. I'm like, that's going to do well for you. That is going to be a key differentiator for you. Sure enough, those people continue to be the best in the industry because they didn't rest. They didn't just grind it out. They realized like competition won't rest, nor do I in figuring out how to get better. But it doesn't mean working longer hours. It means working the right sort of priorities.
Yeah, Greg, you guys have so many tools. I don't know if you can share those with Dave, so we can maybe send a link out to people that are on this call. But you guys have so many awesome tools that can be utilized for business planning this time of the year. So that'd be awesome if that could happen.
Yeah, and Robert just put it in the chat, and I'll also throw out there if any of you have individual questions for me, you can reach me, just email me or reach out to Dave or whoever. But Greg at buildingchampions.com is an easy way to get in touch with me. And we love to make a difference, no obligation, no sales pitch. It's just, hey, if we know we're making a difference and we're living out our purpose. So
awesome, brother.
Yep.
Well, Greg, thank you for helping kick off this first half of leadership selling. Really appreciate you, brother, and don't want you to be late to your next calling. So I'm gonna take this over. And
see you guys.
Before I frame the second half of the conversation here, I do want to put an exclamation mark around what Greg just said and the word pause. And I want to also pull from one of my all-time favorite leadership books, Extreme Ownership, and what Jocko Willink calls detach. And it is just such a hallmark of great leaders. That they do pause. They do make sure that they work on the business. He called out a weekly recentering of goals. And when it is stressful, when it is overwhelming, when it is confusing, and that is the market that we're in, you're not going to break records in terms of the amount of loans that you close. But you can break records in terms of the market share that you gain. And so you need to outperform the competition. You need to outperform other loan officers. And there really is nothing more important than being able to detach and get strategic and not be stressed. When you're all stressed out, you can't have your highest IQ. And so I just, such an important key to that. Now, the billing of this call is leadership selling, and couldn't have a better first half leader than Greg Harkavy from Building Champions to talk about self-leadership. Because here's the deal. What we're going to talk about now is how to take leadership and use it as a competitive differentiator and a competitive advantage with both realtors and home buyers. But if you don't have the self game of leadership down, you can't play this game. You can't play the game of I'm going to be a leader to a home buyer. I'm going to be a leader to a realtor at the same level. It's more like, you're just going through the motions. And, let's face it, how you identify a leader? You look who's following. It's not the title that someone has. It's not the role they have in an organization. It's how they show up in a conversation. So I think anyone who's followed this channel for any length of period of time, I've referenced the book, The Challenger Sale, many times. I think it's, one of the most important sales book any professional salesperson could ever read. And the paradigm of the challenger sale is tailor, ask great questions, teach, like the best salespeople in the world are the best teachers in the world. Tailor, teach, and then control and embrace constructive tension. Don't being a people pleaser is not leading. That's a way to be out of control. That's a way to be overwhelmed. That's a way to be unstrategic. So this next half of the call, and really we're at 25 minutes now, is how is Manny Corral, one of America's greatest loan officers, who's not a loan officer. He is an advisor. He is a mortgage coach. Took me a few years to get you on the mortgage coach team, Manny, but you're here. And so the question I have to you, by the way, guys, Manny led the first half. I'm going to lead the second half. Manny, the question I have for you, how are you taking, leadership and leveraging it with real estate agents in this market to gain market share?
Yeah. Well, first of all, super cool to be here with you, man. And let's be honest, it took you about 10 years to get me on board. Okay. But I'm on board, and I've been on board for the last 2 years and couldn't be happier, man. Awesome. Well, first thing, I wrote down a note to myself that you can't lead others until you learn how to lead yourself first, right? You start leading your family, leading yourself, becoming a leader, pouring into yourself professionally. And I've done that with coaching and, of course, trying to get better as a person every single day of my life. But what I did this year in particular, because, I'm in California, you're in California now too. Welcome back home.
Good to
George
be here.
County. There you go. But if you weren't in the California market, we were in lockdown mode, man. And I am actually located in the East San Gabriel Valley, which is the outskirts of LA County. And so LA County was super, super strict for 2 years, man. 2020 and 2021, man, nothing was open. You couldn't go to a restaurant. Man, you couldn't do very much, quite honestly. And so real estate offices were closed for 2 years. I mean, they were all working remote. I didn't set foot in an office for 2 years. But coming back into 2022, we knew things were going to open up, and they did. And I said to myself, well, what am I going to do to get back out amongst the people? Yeah, I'd been making some phone calls. In 2021, I did about 50%. 50% of my business was refi, 50% of my business was purchase. So it wasn't 100% refi. But I needed to reinvent myself and get back out amongst the people. And so I've always believed that if you want to get more real estate business, you have to integrate yourself into the realtor's world. That means you have to go to lunch with them. You have to go to their seminars, whether it's a Tom Ferry or Mike Ferry seminar. You have to go where the realtors are at. And so they weren't having those types of seminars in person. This year, they started to do that. I happened to attend the Mike Ferry seminar in Las Vegas in June, and I wasn't able to make the Tom Ferry seminar in Dallas, which was heavily attended. But each one of those events probably had 3,000 or 4,000 realtors there. And so I wanted to get myself into the realtors world. So what we were able to do is be able to get out in the real estate offices and start doing presentations. One of the things that I had to do was find a way to get out there. And so we started doing lunch and learns. I had several offices that we do lunch and learns or presentations every 2 weeks. And so since February, we've been able to do that, and we've come up with some amazing content. And how we started leading our realtors was just coaching them. I mean, man, we started the year off with, single premium buyouts and gap analysis. And, we were doing appraisal gaps and permanent buy downs and 2-1 buy downs. And so as the market has shifted, our strategies had to shift too. And if you're not sure where to get all the content, Dave does such a great job with Mortgage Coach. You can just swipe and adapt from so many different interviews we do. I'll listen to an interview on Mortgage Coach, take ideas, go to my team, and create some content around it and get it out to the real estate offices quickly. I'll do the same thing with Barry Habib and the MBS Highway, and I'll do the same thing with Keeping Current Matters. There's so much great stuff out there. We've just been able to take it and begin an education program, if you will, with our realtor community. And Dave, what we do is every time we do that, we always integrate Mortgage Coach, always. And so I got to tell you, I'll share this story with you, Dave. When we first started with our realtors, they didn't know what Mortgage Coach was. They didn't know what a TCA was or a certified mortgage plan was. And so when we would share this information with them, a lot of it would just go right over their heads, but now they're pros. They know what a TCA is. And we've done so many of these on buy downs and temporary buy downs, and just really informing our realtors on what's available in the marketplace and how to win in this marketplace. And so we've done a great job of doing that and getting out in front of people.
So let's break this down. And remember, guys, if you have questions, put them down below. But the strategy here is get out and lead, lunch and learns. So let's see, we got 20 minutes. So let's do no more than 5 minutes on the different types of events that you're doing. And then let's, in the last 20-ish, 15-ish minutes, let's talk about how you teach a strategy in one of these lunch and learns. I really want to break that down with how you do it. So a lunch and learn, how many realtors are typically in one of your lunch and learns? And is it one office at a time?
It's 3 different offices. 2 different offices are every other week.
Every other week.
One office is once a month. The once a month, there's probably 50 people in there, and they range anywhere from 12 to 35 people on average.
Okay. And then what are some other presentations? How, one-on-ones, obviously. How often are you doing one-on-ones with realtors where you're given a one-on-one conversation and presentation?
Well, first, we're doing lunch and learns once a month at my office, where we invite different realtors. Okay. Because there's 3 offices in particular that we're doing business with, and it's typically the same realtors are involved. Not everybody shows up, but it's typically about 30 to 35 people on the larger offices. Can be slightly more than that. It really depends. And the smaller offices are 12 people. But we've come up with, oh my goodness, probably 25 to 26 different presentations this year that we've done, and all centered around different presentations. Our number 1 presentation that we do is why you should choose us. And so we have with a real estate group, we have what's called a weekly onboarding call. So everybody that they recruit on a weekly basis, and sometimes it's every 2 weeks, we do a presentation why you should choose us, and I would be willing to share that with your community, Dave. And of course, they can just take my information and make it, customize it to fit their needs, obviously, in their branding. But we love that presentation because it basically explains to the realtor why you should choose us, and we go into that, and they just love it because it basically walks them through all the advantages of working with us.
Got it. So I really want to push every loan officer here that has an office or you have a space that you start doing this once a month. And you might only get one person your first month. But if you just said, you know what, every month I'm going to do something in my office. Now even if you don't have a lot of folks there, you're getting practice and you can control it. And there's zero excuse. Now, and I love the commitment to every other week you're doing lunch and learns outside of your office and other real estate offices. So I want to push everyone to do that. Let's see. And if you have questions like, hey, Manny, are you doing this? Are you doing that? But leadership selling requires leadership. So, if you want to be a leadership salesperson, you need to do events and you need to educate and advise at scale, because not only will you be educating at scale, leading at scale, but now that's going to be the foundation when you are having the one-on-one with the buyer. That one-on-one, you're going to be a better leader when you're having one-on-ones with realtors. So before we transition to how you teach a strategy, leveraging MortgageCoach at one of these meetings, anything else that you're doing that we should know? Any other things you're doing?
There's one thing that I just did, Dave. We're actually presenting, this is going to be the 6th presentation that we've done to a realtor group. So what we did is we asked our realtor group, give us some questions that you're getting some objections to out in the field. And so some of the things that came back to us was, hey, affordability. How can we sell homes when rates are going up? It was, hey, is 2008 going to happen again? Right? Those types of questions. And so we built a presentation and we called it Follow the Certain in Times of Uncertainty. And I would say that we probably have given that to over 100 realtors.
Say the name again.
Follow the certain in times of uncertainty.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. And so basically, the questions were, hey, what if rates don't come down within the next 3 years? What will happen if 2008 happens again, right? Or waiting for the market to bottom out was a big objection. And so we have a presentation we put together, and I'd be willing to share that with your community, of course, and then people can just customize it. But that has been a hit for us. Every time we've given that, and we just did a lunch and learn where we had standing room only in my office, and it was a big hit. And so it's provided us with a lot of traction in the real estate community.
Well, I can tell you right now, we will not say no. If you want to share the slides to that, anyone listening to this, we will have a link to that. If you're watching this in YouTube, down below in the show notes, we've always got show notes. Manny's going to show some total cost analysis now in a minute, and we'll have links to those down here, and we'll also have links to the slides that Manny shares with us. So let's, we got 15 minutes left. I want to make sure that you talk about how you're delivering advice, how you're delivering strategy, and what are some of those, and then show one or two of them, or however many we have time for, on the screen.
Yeah, just let me know when you're ready to roll into that. But
I'm ready. Yeah, walk us through. What is the strategy you're teaching the most? Because I know you sent me like 3 or 4 total cost analysis. Which one are you using the most often out of the 4 that you sent over?
Yeah, what we do is a couple of things. So got to keep in mind, guys, when you're working with realtors, we're bringing strategies to the realtor offices and explaining what a 2-1 buy down is, because most realtors didn't even know what it was a couple of months ago. So let's see if I can do that, Dave. You'll allow me to screen share, correct?
Yep. You can screen share. And Robert, I just emailed you the link to Manny's total cost analysis. If you can share these links in chat one at a time, let's try to properly label them. So it's, Manny's seller buy down. And we'll also, like I said, guys, in our YouTube channel, there'll be links to these. So great job of branding yourself. Love, you notice he's got both the company logo and his team logo integrated.
Yeah, and we're going to start co-branding too, Dave, with our realtors on these.
And we have a co-branded version. Remember, everybody, we have co-branded open house experiences. We're seeing that used more than ever in this market.
Yeah. So I'll just get into this one. So the TCAs that I put together basically are all demonstrations we're doing at real estate offices. So we're having to coach them, we're having to lead them and lead their borrowers, quite frankly, as well. But one thing that I will encourage everybody on the call is our realtors are looking for leadership right now. There is no question. They have never been in a market like this. Many of them have never been in a market like this before. And so not only are our realtors looking for leadership, our borrowers are looking to be led as well. So here we go. This is just a simple one we did about a month ago at a real estate class. And so I just have very simply 4 different options. Obviously, we have A, B, C, and D. And we have here a $650 sales price across the board. In this case, we had a 0-point loan, a 1-point seller buy down, permanent buy down, 2-point option. And then we said, hey, well, wait a minute. A lot of buyers are just saying, hey, why don't we just take the price reduction? Why would I want to pay more for a property? I'll just take the $10,000 price reduction rather than a buy down. And so we actually put together this. It's just a class that we put in together for the realtors. And you can see that buying down the rate with a 1-point buy down resulted in a lower mortgage payment for the consumer by about $95 in this case. Buying down the rate to 2 points was a slightly lower rate at 5.875. And that payment was slightly lower by $189. And lowering the price, basically you were saving some money, $68.97. But by taking option number 2 and taking the 2 points here, you're actually saving more money by paying a slightly higher price than you would if you were lowering the price. So our realtors don't know this stuff. We have to bring this to the table and teach them. And that's what we've been doing successfully all year long to create more business and to create realtors. And the experience basically is, Dave, that our competitors are not doing this. I have not had one realtor tell me that they have seen one other loan officer this year of the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of realtors we presented to. Not one of the loan officers doing anything remotely close to this. So this separates us from our competition, clearly. So Dave, you want me to go into any more detail on this?
No, I think we've got good detail on this.
Okay.
Let's go to another TCA and another strategy real quick.
Yeah, we'll just do this very simply. I'm actually going to go to this here, Dave. This is what we did to teach the realtors initially what a buy down even was. And so you should be able to see this here, and it should say here 2-1 buy down strategy. We made this super simple. You got to remember, when we gave this presentation, our realtors didn't even know what a 2-1 buy down was. They've heard about it, but mechanically they didn't know how it actually worked. And so we made it super simple on the right-hand column here. So you'll be able to see the 30-year conventional fixed buy down year one, simply at 4.99%. The payment was $793, lower than it would be at 6.99%. That was the rate at the time. And there was a massive advantage, because if you're going to focus on affordability, and that's what everybody's concerned about right now, not only are borrowers concerned, realtors are concerned about affordability. And this 2-1 buy down option gave our clients a clear vision of how mechanically this would work. So year two would go to 5.99. Okay, and the theory would be, obviously, we'd love to be able to refinance them within a year to 18 months to 2 years tops. We think rates are going to be a lot lower, and we're definitely going to position ourselves to do that. You're still looking at a $405 savings here if you're a consumer. This is massive to a consumer today. And then year three, we don't think that you'll ever get to that point, but worst case scenario, let's just say it's year three. You're at 6.99, and your payment's going to be $5,076. So obviously, the advantage would be to take a 2-1 buy down and save a ton of money for the first year or two of the loan.
So let's talk about how you teach these strategies. Denise Donahue is someone I've interviewed on how, she wows realtors with mortgage strategies. And, she provides the links and she shows them on a screen, but she'll also print them out and have them as handouts in person. How are you, delivering the total cost analysis in the context of the meeting?
Beautiful. So I'm very lucky that in the offices that I'm presenting at, they have really nice large screens. And so I'm able to get in front of them, do my presentation, whatever topic we're talking about, and then slide in some mortgage coach. And so we're always having 1 to 2, 3 mortgage coach presentations, depending on how much time we get. And we typically get about 20 minutes to 30 minutes on these office presentations. So they give us a lot of time. And so I'll go through different scenarios. And so what we'll do is we'll ask the realtors before the event, hey, is there anything you want us to cover? And so we'll come in, present, and then cover different strategies. Also, we love to swipe and adapt from your community as well. We'll take ideas like, date the rate, right? Marry the house, divorce the rent. We've done all that stuff, man. So why reinvent the wheel? Sometimes we'll just steal some ideas from your community and bring it out to our realtor group.
Well, by the way, you're not stealing, you're leveraging.
There you go.
Why I do these interviews and why I create so much content. It's for you. You're watching this. We want you to be successful. We want every loan in America to go through a mortgage coach. We think that mortgage coach loan officers are better. They're giving family transparency by showing the cost over time. They're giving families strategies to pay off their home faster so that people can achieve the true American dream of debt-free ownership or financial freedom, where, hey, I've got enough money in the bank that I can pay off my mortgage. At the end of the day, we want mortgage coach loan officers to gain market share. So Manny, you're doing exactly what we want. You're watching these interviews, and then you're putting your own personality and your own leadership behind them, and then you're amplifying them in your marketplace. So it sounds like usually, is it 2 mortgage coach strategies you share per meeting, or is it 3?
Yes. No, it's typically 2, 3's the max.
Okay,
But,
two.
yeah, 2 to 3 to max.
And, I personally think that right now in this market, you go ahead and stop sharing your screen real quick, Manny.
Okay.
That the rent versus, or excuse me, the date the rate, marry the house is a really important one, because no other loan officer, unless they're a mortgage coach, can really show, hey, here's a couple of affordability strategies. And look, rate's going to go down. And if I'm a realtor, I want to work with a loan officer that's able to really help make a consumer comfortable, a home buyer comfortable with, hey, you can buy now and you can refinance later. So I think that, and I also think the rent versus own, because let's face it, it's a first time home buyers market, divorce, rent, and someone that can really show the wealth accumulation benefits. And then the 2-1 buy down, or seller buy down, like affordability strategies. Are those the three kind of most common and most valuable strategies that you're teaching to realtors?
Yeah, I'd say so. Obviously, temporary buy downs and permanent buy downs are massive, especially when rates were in, 7.25%, 7.5% range. Rates have, lightened up recently, but just realtor education, man, and consumer education. Because, I'll tell you, one of the things I love about Mortgage Coach is that when I'm able to sit down with some borrowers, I'm able to, show them different options. Because in most cases, a borrower would choose an option that you would think, well, I'm just going to choose this option because it's the lowest rate, right? And I'm going to pay a ton of points to get that rate. But, a lot of times we'll show them options and we'll actually show them the difference. And they're like, wow, option number 2 is actually the better option. You're going to save $12,000 with this buy down. And they're like, that's an option they never would have chosen until they see the numbers. And it just moves them off, the block. And they go, wow, you're saving us a lot of money. We're going to take that option. That's massive. I want to share this, though, Dave, with everybody, because I know we just have a few minutes left. One of the things that moved me towards Mortgage Coach was, personally, this is, my own personal story, is that I didn't want to be obsolete. I wanted to be relevant. And I wanted to, at my stage of my career, be able to do things that loan officers half my age aren't doing. And Mortgage Coach has provided me that opportunity to be able to be that person and do that at a high level. We have a first-class presentation, married it with Mortgage Coach. We do some art of home ownership stuff on the back end. We've got a nice platform, and Mortgage Coach presented me with the ability to do that. It's been a difference maker in my career.
Well, Manny, it's just an honor to have you as a leader in the Mortgage Coach community. I know that, there's been multiple years where you've been, the #1 Latino loan officer in America in terms of helping Latino families. How do you think you're going to do this year? Are you still, helping a lot of families?
Yeah, I'd probably say, in our community where we're located now, it's heavily Latino. We've helped 185 families this year, as of today, year to date, for 81 million. My numbers are off, like a lot of people's are off this year. I'll probably end up at about 195 to 200 in loans for about 90 million.
Got it. Now, one of the things we've been pretty passionate about is, making the translation of Mortgage Coach so that, it translates in Spanish and it helps all families understand their mortgage options. Is that a feature that you lean on? And is that something that's been helpful?
I do. It's nice. I show the realtors that, we also have a translation in Spanish, and I love it. Realtors are just shocked when they see that because they're not expecting that. So in Latino community, it makes a big difference, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. So guys, I hope you heard that, man. It's a real difference maker. We want to help you serve every family into home ownership and make sure they understand their options. The video feature, is that a feature that you use very often?
I use it every single time now. When I first started, I didn't. I gotta admit it, I didn't. But I've done probably over 200 now in the last year or so. But now I'm attaching a video 98% of the time.
So hey, share your screen real quick. I wanna go to the actual advice engine. Where you log in to create a total cost analysis. I want to just create some awareness around everyone around this, and then we're going to wrap this up. So go to the actual advice engine where you create the total cost analysis, And in the upper right-hand corner, click on settings. So click on settings right there. Yeah. So you'll notice Manny is newly a Grand Master, 1,027 TCAs. Congratulations, my friend. You notice that he's created, he got that number right, 235 videos. And notice that they've been viewed 3,500 times. And I guarantee now that you're adding a video to it, they're getting viewed more than they were when you weren't putting a video on it. So great job, Manny. Anyways, you guys, you can stop sharing that now. So guys, we're going to wrap up today's call. I hope you got value that will make you a better leader, leadership selling. Hopefully the first half with Greg Harkavy, getting some ideas and strategies from a self-leadership perspective. And then the second half, how do you scale that? How do you take that to real estate agents in today's market? Manny, any closing thoughts as we wrap up today's call?
Well, I'll tell you what, this is a great time to do your business plan and finish it off. But my goal is to meet with all my realtors in the next 60 days and do some business planning. Hope you guys will do the same. And let's go out and have a great 2023.
All right, guys. Well, hey, we're going to, as we close out the year, like we always do, we're going to be doing business planning events. Todd Bookspan, the founder of Win by Noon, will be leading a lot of those. I'm sure we're going to have someone for Building Champions back. We'll have other coaches and other leaders. If you got value from this call, please give it a like wherever you're watching it in social media, whether it's on Facebook, YouTube. Please share this with people in the mortgage business that you think they have the character. They want to deliver value. They want to be advisors. They want to help families achieve financial freedom. And share this with your manager. If you're not a mortgage coach and you're watching this, there will be a link down below to sign up. Also get a demo of Sales Boomerang. Manny and his team, we didn't have time to get into how they're using data insights so that they can be at the right place at the right time. I interviewed a loan officer yesterday, Amid. You guys got to check this out. Amid Singh got an alert with a family where their credit cards were just going up. They were using their credit cards. So they got an alert that they had equity and that they were using their debt. It so happened that they had a child that was in extreme health issues. I don't know, what it was, but it's to the point where the mother was going to have to quit her job and they were having to use the credit cards to survive. And literally they were within weeks of being unfinanceable because the mom was going to have to quit her job to take care of the child. He called at the right time. He was able to do a cash out refinance when this family could get a refinance because he had a data insight. Credit cards are up, cash out refi here. And it was a family in need that because he was able to make that call, that family is much better off. If they would not have got that proactive call from that cash out alert, the mother would have quit her job and then they would have called, no, we need to get money. And the loan officer wouldn't be able to get the cash out refi. So guys, it's not only an opportunity, it's a way to serve your database. Make sure that you're monitoring that database and make sure that you're looking for opportunities to help families build wealth with real estate. Take care, y'all. This is a wrap.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.